So I'll go ahead and move into these Kato units, which I have now. And these are all ones I had to modify a bit. I got 2 of these, and I'll explain this in a minute. The first one I have here is an old Union Pacific SD40, which I patched out for CEFX, and this is number 2813. This is obviously an ex-Union Pacific SD40, and these are relatively common, but more often you'll see the SD45 counterparts more often. But they still have plenty of these SD40s around, but most of them are in storage at this point. 2813, however, is in service, and that's why I particularly modeled this one. It's actually used here in Ohio right now. It's actually, I think it was recently spotted in Akron, Ohio, I think. Anyways, I tried to model this as best as I could, and I'll go ahead and start from the front here. As you can see, I had to do a lot of detail modifications. You can see all the new details are added, and then I added the new chevrons on the front. And then you got the new number boards, CEFX patch, the R3L, new air conditioner, antennas, all that good stuff. We'll get into the weathering in a minute as well. Now, these units are pretty easy to do. All I had to do on this particular unit was strip off all the old Union Pacific lettering, like on the high hood, and then I stripped off all the old numbers on the cab, and then I did like a patch with some CSX yellow, and then I was able to add the new number and then the CEFX logo there. Then you got the reflective safety stripes on the sides there, which are actually reflective. And one thing I should mention on the front plow here, this is a custom-made Union Pacific Little Rock plow, which is its nickname. These are custom-made plows done only by Union Pacific, and you can see a lot of these. They're pretty much on every one of their EMDs. Even a few of their GEs have these. So I had to customize this, and I basically scratch-bashed this in a way. It's got the new wings at the top. What I did for a base on this plow was I used a Kato plow and then cut it up, modified it, added the new doors and stuff like that. So it looks pretty good, and it's a fairly accurate representation of one of those plows. So I think it looks pretty good. I like these Kato units though. I mean, in comparison with Athearn, even the RTR line, they're really, really well detailed, and they have a better motor system. And the truck detail I like too, because they include the sanding lines, which is exceptionally nice. And these fuel tanks are very easy to detail too. I did have to modify the fuel tank slightly. I did the new fuel fillers, gauges, and sight there. That's all second-hand parts. I did all the fuel tank detailing. And on the back here, you got the waste retention tank as well. On this end, you can see I did all the detailing as well. You got the drop step, the antennas, or the, the antennas, the MU receptacles, both of them here. Then the jumper, the coupler bars, the hoses, the hose tray, and then you got the knuckle brackets here with the knuckles actually in there. I actually had to install this brake wheel on the back too. That's a custom-made part. So it all came out really nice, and I really like this unit. It looks pretty good. The Kato units are really nice, and I'm definitely going to have to get some more of these. So this unit came out pretty good, and it's actually very, very accurate to the real 2813. Another thing I like with these Kato units is the tread on the walkways, which is an exceptionally nice detail. I love the fact that they do that. Then it's got the best motor in the world too, and also these have these LED lights, which are really nice, and plus it's got a full cab interior, which is also exceptionally nice. And then you got all these separately applied handrails and stuff, which I really, really like. So I'm definitely going to get some more Katos eventually. But that's 2813, so that'll be going into service here pretty soon. I've actually been breaking that in recently, giving it a few test runs to get it going. So it looks really good. I really like it. I'll have to get some videos of this running pretty soon, so hopefully I can get around to that pretty soon. Alright, so next up is a true rent-a-wreck, and this one's particularly special. It's a Union Pacific unit, but no longer Union Pacific. This is really, really cool, and it's actually like the pride of my collection right now. I'm so proud of it because it came out so great. I really like it right now, so I'm going to go ahead and show it to you guys. We'll do a little slow-mo here, just to kind of build up the suspense. Da-da! Alright, enough of that. This is Larry's Truck and Electric 3415, and this is a true rent-a-wreck right here. And I don't even know where to start on this, honestly. I did so much to it to try to make it look, you know, fairly presentable as the real 3415. Like I said, it came out exceptionally well, and it's pretty well accurate to the full thing. I mean, it came out really good. I guess I'll just start with this. I mean, as you can see, it's a Kato SD40-2, like I said. And right out of the box, the Kato units are really well detailed. They look great. They got that awesome tread plate on the walkways and stuff. They got the cab interiors, the best motor in the business, that nice truck detail, which I really, really like. They got all the handrails and all that. The coupler bars are all included. You got the airlines and everything, and it's just really, really, really good. for Kato. I mean, I love Kato now. I mean, I'm going to have to get some more of these. I'm just at this point ashamed with Athearn that they can't even do this kind of detail on their units at this point in time. It's very disappointing. And for the price of a Kato unit, I mean, I literally paid $50 to $60 a piece for both of these Katos. I think on the CEFX unit I paid like $40 for that. And then on this unit I got it for like, I think $60. Literally. So you can see the dilemma here. And like, I'm tired of paying full price for all these units too. I mean, if you go on eBay, even if you go on eBay and try to get a decent bargain on an Athearn unit, you still end up paying like $70. So I mean, you can kind of see the dilemma, like I said. So I'm kind of at this point in time now. I don't really know what to do about my units. I guess I'm just gonna start buying more Katos at this point. But anyways, going back to this unit, this is Larry's Truck and Electric 3415, formerly Union Pacific 3415. And this is one of the old Snoot units. As you can see, it has the long nose, which is the 123-inch nose. That was used for radio equipment storage, I think, was the story behind it. And this particular unit was quite a headache. I had to plan this very carefully, and I actually wanted to do this for quite some time now and never could because of a very, very pressing dilemma. No one made an accurate representation of the common Union Pacific Snoot Nose SD40-2. Not even Athearn has made one. They have, but the problem is the paint scheme is not right. And I can't modify that paint scheme in any way to look presentable for this unit. And it's proposed a very, very large dilemma for me, and that's why I've set this model aside for so many times all these years now. Because I've literally wanted to model this unit for like maybe 5 or 6 years now. Literally. So with my recently purchased Kato unit, that's of course the idea I had behind it was I was going to turn the Kato unit into the LTX 3415, and I did. So I really like it. I mean, it came out really good, and I had to do so much to this to get it accurate. I went through a hell of a lot of detailing, and I did a lot of modifying with styrene and stuff. I had to do a lot of things to get it representable to the 3415 in real life. And I also had to experiment with a lot of new weathering courses and textures to create the effects that I'll show you here in a minute on this unit. So I'll go ahead and start from the front here, and I'll actually move my tripod out of the way for a sec so I can kind of get down here to ground level so I can show you this in detail. So here it is, 3415. And you can see from the side how ugly it looks, and that's why I like it. I love these old Renorex. I grew up seeing these old junky units back in 2000s. They go by my house all the time back then. Really junky ones during that time period where the railroads were power short and they were just getting their hands on anything they could. And with this unit, it was acquired with a bunch of other Union Pacific and Chicago Northwestern SD40-2s that Larry's Truck and Electric ended up just black patching and then putting out into lease service. Kind of cheap-hearted, really. And these were nicknamed Bandits because they would do the black patch just like similarly to the Milwaukee Road Bandits that Sea Line did. If you remember those. Everybody knows what those are. And that's why these are nicknamed Bandits, because it's a similar idea. Now on the front here, I had to do a lot of detailing. As you can see, I also made one of those Little Rock plows as well for this unit, also made by that stock Kato plow kit bash to modify. And you got the new ditch lights, the coupler bars, the lift, and then the Pepsi can MU receptacle, the new, the more common style receptacle there. I actually cut the chain off of these handrails too, to kind of represent like someone might be going across this unit. Why I did that also real quick, units like these were used, believe it or not. They were used. As ugly as they were, as long as they ran in the railroad's philosophy, they were good units. But what they would usually do with ones that were this ratty, they would put them as permanent trailing state, where they would never be in the lead. And in every photo of this unit, it's always as a trailing, the very last unit. Even in a video, it's the very trailing unit, and that's how I represented it here, and that's how I'll use it. So that you might speculate that maybe this was the trailing unit and the chain was down because maybe someone got in the cab of this one or had to restart it or whatever, who knows. But on the top here, I did the new RS3L. I made the custom horn stand. You got the new antenna there, and then you got this air line, as you can see, which runs all the way across. It goes across the air filter, across the dynamic brake section, and then all the way to the back radiator fan here, where it goes back down into the high hood, as you can see. And I also did a replacement fan. The real unit has this replacement dynamic fan, as you can see, and I just did that modification pretty easily with some styrene. So there's the airline. On the cab door here, I had to add I think it's like a, what is that? It's like I think it's like an insulated door is what it is, and it has this like basically this rubber padding or this rubber seal around the door that kind of basically blocks out air, and this particular unit has that, as you can see. So I was able to recreate it with some styrene strip, and it came out pretty good. On the nose here you can see I blanked out the classification lights and painted them yellow, which is this mismatched yellow just like the real unit. You got the black patch covering the UP shield on the front. Now, getting started on the weathering, this unit is filthy. Even before LTEX got it, this unit was in really bad shape because the paint on it was just faded and deteriorated to hell. And you can see how I recreated this, and I'll go ahead and explain how I created this yellow fade texture in this peeling paint. What I did was I did 3 layers of paint. The first layer was the basic white patch fading, and then I did a yellow fade in a second course, and then the third, which I did here, which I kind of went over, and then I kind of slowly, well, after the paint dried, I kind of slowly started to scratch it off, and it creates this effect of peeling paint, as you can see, especially on the front here. You can see that, and this is actually the best area to represent it. You can see that around the top on the anti-skid platform there, around the nose. You can see how well that turned out. You can see that nice yellow blotchy paint effect where the actual paint is still intact. On the cab here too, since I was going to renumber this unit, its original number was 3401. Since I had the opportunity of stripping the old numbers off this unit, I went ahead and did the fading underneath the numbers and then added the new decals right over it and then faded the decals down. So that came out really good. Then you get all the detail on the truck. I had to add this welded plate here, just like on the real unit, that covers up one of those holes. And you get the fuel tank details, just like I did with the CEFX unit. I had to switch a few of these around to look a little more detailed. You got the waste retention tank on the back, as you can see. Here's the other truck. It's just this grimy old rust bucket. I really like it. Now, getting started on the high hood, you can see, just like in the real unit, it has this full black high hood patch which goes all the way up to the cab and then onto the battery box here, as you can see. And this stuff was just hand rolled on there, literally. LTX literally took paint rollers and just painted black right over everything. That was their philosophy, and they just quickly got these things back into service. So they never really did a full repaint on these units or anything. So how I created this, just like the real thing, I hand painted all the patches, just some basic flat black. And then what I did, since the real LTX 3415 has this chipping paint effect on the side where that cheap black paint quickly peeled off, revealing the armor yellow underneath, how I recreated that was with prototype photos. I was able to go and I was able to scratch off in some areas the paint, and then other areas I actually had to, actually paint it, as you can see. Like areas like that, and that's all accurate. Every individual little spot and scratch and everything is all in the exact place. It literally took me several hours worth of patching to do this kind of effect, and it came out awesome, and I'm really happy with this. And it just came out really good. I'm happy. So on this side, you can see it's a little bit better shape. You can see the patches held up a little better, but they are starting to kind of rust over from the grime. And on this side, I'll actually move on to the roof real quick too. You can see this fading effect as well. This, what formerly was Union Pacific Harbor Mist Gray, is now this faded white grayish color. So that looks really good. I blackened the fans as well, by the way. You get the exhaust effects here on the top, which I did. First I did a paint layer and blotched it on there, and then blended everything out with chalk pastels, which was the end product, which looks pretty good. So you see it looks nice. I did the cable on the truck. There's the fuel tank details again. You can see that waste retention tank. There's a bit of rust patch starting at the top of the tread there, kind of streaking down. So that looks really good. In this area too, you can see that entire red stripe actually just completely peeled off. Now on the back here, you can see the nice bit of detailing I did as well. Pretty much the same to the front, except that there's no plow on this end. So that looks really good. There's that nice tread plating. And you can see the back high hood as well. You can see that nice patch effect, which what they did with the black, they just patched it all the way up, the old yellow, and they patched it all the way up to the red stripe, all the way to the gray. So it's just this black-gray contrast, as you can see. It's kind of blurred there. There you go. So it's just this ratty old piece of junk, and I really, really love it. It looks good. It's definitely the best-looking LTEX 3415 out there. There's not many that... surprisingly, no one's really tried to attempt to model one of these units, but... So I actually and the first to make an accurate model of this unit, so that's kind of interesting. I did use the microscale sheet, by the way, to do these LTEX logos, but that was about it. Everything else, I kind of mismatched logos. I did all the warning labels and stuff with some assorted sheets and stuff like that. But, I mean, this unit looks really good, as you can see. I like it. It looks nice. It's just this old-fashioned Rennerec. Classic, I think. So, that came out awesome. I really like it. And this unit isn't going anywhere. The only thing I'll have to do now at this point, since I like these Kato units so much, is I'll have to get some more, so I can just basically make a whole bunch of Union Pacific SD40-2s. Not so much Rennerex, but just start building a fleet of Union Pacific units. That's one of my projects in the future, I guess, is I'll have to get started on doing. So, that's LTEX 3415 right there, and I'll go ahead and end this video with a few other things. I guess I can show you these real quick. Obviously, you know what these are. These are my Wheeling and Lake Erie tunnel motors, which I did 5401 and 5399, which will represent the 5413 and the 5391. Not too far off. I still got to renumber them though. Why I'm showing these again was because I did some modifications to them to kind of make them look better. Originally, I did the patching on the nose of the 5399 with just basically a styrene block, and then I painted it. It didn't look very good because on the real 5391 the patches on the nose look a lot better, and it's basically, I think what they did was they actually took a new nose and fabricated it on there and then repainted the Rio Grande chevrons and herald. I think that's what they did. So I tried to recreate that look. I just didn't like it at first. I mean, it was presentable, but I didn't like it as well. So I just went back, I sanded all that off, and then I cleaned up the areas, filled in all the nose light areas, anything related to the nose light, and then repainted it and added all the decals, as you can see. So now you got this new nose, just like the real 5391, which looks really good. I added the new airlines to these units too as well, plus the KD couplers, which was a much needed mod for these units, was the new couplers and the airlines. There's the 5413, not much done to that. They're pretty much the same at this point. I mean, nothing much has changed to them. I did do a few basic new weathering design, I guess you could say, and I was experimenting with some weathering on these, and what I did was I used chalk pestles to weather them in certain areas, like around the air filters, around the air intakes, and then particularly on the trucks. You can see there's a little colored kind of this, there we go, that's better. You can kind of see what I did here. You can see that streak effect and stuff. That was all done with chalk pestles, and all that new weathering on the trucks was done with chalk pestles as well. So these units look really good. Classic Rio Grande tunnel motors, and I'm glad they're still around. I'm glad Wheeling and Lake Erie is taking good care of them. There's the new airline on the back there, plus the new coupler. And they're just grimy, they're really all, but they're actually in pretty good shape for being all these years old now. So that's 5399, and then this is 5413 here. Pretty much the same thing. I mean, there's a few little differences in between the two, and that's kind of why I like them, because they're not all the same. They have these subtle little differences between each other. So I like it. I mean, the weathering came out good. These look nice. Another thing I did do to these, by the way, was I added the brake chain to these parts there. That's another little detail feature I did. But again, not much. But I thought I would show them again, you know. I do have to get some new decals because I want to do the Wheeling and Lake Erie patch above the cab. I originally did those by hand painting them, and they didn't look very good, so I'm going to have to replace that with decals or something like that until I can figure out what to do with that. But for now, that's all my locomotives, and of course all these were done by me. That Alco and that SD90 Mac will be done soon. The Alco will be going out the door here pretty quick, and then that 90 Mac should be done here in a few days. But for now, that's about it. And like I said before, I have a bunch of rolling stock that I need to show. So what I'm going to do is just show you guys my locomotives for now. I'll come back when all my rolling stock is done and show you a complete video on all my new rolling stock. So you guys take care, take it easy, and I'll be back. Take care.